Okay, attention, top. Kyungyi, 준비. All right, we're going to step forwards, left leg. And we're going to execute L stance. Number 9, knife hand strike, sorry, knife hand strike. Stepping forwards, knife hand strike, yeah. In your own time, go. So knife hand side strike. This is another one of those. Okay, just stop for a second. So we've just established anything using the outer forearm wants to be as flexed as possible, okay, as close as possible so that it travels outwards. The question is, with a knife hand, if we are attacking the side, okay, of the opponent, so if we talk about attacking the side of the opponent, directly coming in at my 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, it would make perfect sense for the knife hand strike to come from the outside, because we allow greater swing because there is no restriction. If it's on the inside, you know, we're kind of creating a bit of a restriction to that strike. So that got me asking the question, well, are we striking 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock? And I worked with a number of different systems that really looked at striking in at the quarter angles. Okay, if you take a line from the corners of your eyes and take them directly downwards, they are your kind of 45-degree quarter angles. And all of a sudden, knife hand strike dropped into this category. So I'm now, let me just get Bob real quick. So I'm not looking with a knife hand strike necessarily to strike the side of the neck, okay? I'm not necessarily looking to go into the side of the sternocleidomastoid, that big chunky muscle down the side of your neck. I'm not looking to go into that. Let's just think of that, consider that for a minute. Maybe I'm looking and going into the front of it, between the windpipe and that muscle, between the two. So now I'm hitting on those 45, those quarter lines, that line down from the eyes. I'm now hitting in here. Now it makes perfect sense for me to have the knife hand coming from the inside, because it's now traveling in a straighter line to that point, okay? We're not encouraging it to swing round and wide, we're now encouraging it to travel straight to that point. So I know it's perhaps not something you've done, but have a few goes at this. Chumbi. So forwards, knife hand strike, having it in nice and tight, and try and getting it as a straight line to the opponent in front of you. Try not to let it swing too much. And stepping forwards, in your own time, go. Don't let the hand drop too low on the chamber. The hand wants to be up a little bit. We want to try and get a little bit of drop into this. Unlike the inward knife hand, which travels upwards, this one travels downwards. Okay, we had a question come through. Does the elbow position change? Change from where? Maybe some people have it down, maybe some people have it up. I try and imagine my elbow is going to lead the line of the strike. Very much like a whip would unroll. Okay, you crack a whip, the whip is going to follow itself. The hand is going to follow the line of the elbow. So that elbow can sit up a bit higher than it would do if you were doing a rising block or an outer forearm block. Get that elbow up and use the elbow to direct that strike into the target. And again, remember, if we're going to be applying this extension and flexion principle of the tricep and bicep, we want to keep this hand quite close. Let's keep it close. Let's keep it as a good tight guard initially prior to the strike. So the knife hand now travels in a more direct line. Okay, good. Chumbi. All right, so we're going to step forwards. Twin forearm block. Twin forearm block. Stepping forwards in your L stance. I keep saying stepping forwards, and it's so strange to step forwards on the spot, but you know what I mean. So we're stepping forwards, applying the weight on the front leg. Step back to step forwards, step back to step forward. In your time, go. Let me see what you're doing. So this is a strange one, because this one we're doing 2 outer forearm blocks. So what do we do with this? If they come close to the body, do we need to bring them close to the body? Yes, is the answer. So instead of these coming from quite wide, they want to come in quite close. Okay, stop there. Go a little bit closer so you can see what I'm looking to see what I'm doing. Let me get a little bit closer. Right. If these hands are wide, we force the rising hand to go backwards, okay? So this rising hand is now going to go backwards. Now, you don't want to be in a position to have this rising block coming backwards and defending anything, because if it's coming backwards, by default, it's going to become a weak technique. So it needs to be going forwards and outwards. It needs to be traveling away from you. So for that reason, you need to keep these in close, because it's on the outside. Your primary block is the front block, is the middle outer forearm block. That's your primary block. That's tight on the inside. But this one is just as important to keep close to you. If it goes too far away and you block upwards and backwards, you run the risk of that being a weak technique, and it'll mess your stance up. It just won't be practical. Get some friends to try it on you when we're in a position to, and you'll feel it's weak. So get it in close, drive it away from you. Away and out, away and out. Both these techniques go away and out. So just apply that first then. Ready, stepping forwards. Hana. 2. Set. Net. All right, okay, just stop there for a second. So twin forearm block. Bring it in close so they both travel away. But here's the thing. And this, we're getting into the high grades now, so yellow belts. Don't worry about this. Don't let this sort of fog you. Just keep what your instructor's doing. Keep what I've been saying to do, and don't worry about the detail we're now going to get into. The timing of this execution. Hip twist. Hip twist plays a massive part in everything we do. Tae Kwon Do was one of the first martial arts that really looked at the science of rotational force and applying it into the techniques. So hip twist, and I could spend a whole day talking about hip twist, so I'm just going to use it as an example just with this twin forearm block. Twin forearm block is a technique that's executed with a sense of centrifugal force. Your hands are traveling away from you from the center outwards. And as you're doing that, there's a certain point that needs to happen. And I'll give you an example. If I execute a knife hand side strike and I drive my hips into the technique to generate that torso twist here to execute the technique, okay, that's great. Its twist is now pulling and it's coming up to the rotation here. I drive the hips round, it pulls the shoulders round, the shoulders come around, extend the arm, and you end up executing a knife hand strike in this spiraling torso twisting method. If I do that with a twin forearm block, what happens is I explode the hips first, okay? The hands then generate forward. I travel with kinetic energy forward into my stance, and I end up doing a punch. The backhand, the rising block, ends up doing, if you look at this, I'll exaggerate what's happening. I'm throwing the hips, it's pulling the shoulders then open the hands, and I end up doing a punch. The hand comes forward. So if you think about centrifugal force, how that kind of dissipates from the center outwards, now what I want to do is I don't want to explode my hips early. So with this technique, I don't want to throw the hips early. I want to apply kinetic energy first, apply the movement just prior to landing. That's where I execute the hip twist. So now it's a delay in the hip rotation to better apply the hands in an outward direction. Now you've not got the encouragement of the hip going and pulling the hand into a punch, but you've now got the application of the body weight moving, the hips rotating at the end, driving the techniques now in a straight line from your center of the body. So this is a tricky one to get the hang of, but have a go. So let's go forwards, twin forearm block, but I want you to hold the hip twist back until your foot is just about to land. Forwards, Hana. So question is, one of the blocks more dominant? Yes, in an application point of view, not necessarily, but from a point of view where we, as instructors, we want you to have a key technique, then yes, we will use the front arm. That's considered the primary technique. The rising block is considered a secondary technique, but they're both just as valuable. In the application, obviously we've all seen the pictures where they are executed at 2 different techniques and flying and all wonderful things coming in at us. In reality, this is a technique that's used to kind of separate somebody's hands or separate some space, create some opening. So, you know, don't feel that one's got to be strong and one's got to be weak. They've both got to be applied the same. And the hip rotation wants to happen. I'll try and demonstrate the 2 extreme differences. So I'm going to exaggerate the hip rotation and then the execution. Okay, so you get early hips, late block. It's fine when you're doing a knife hand strike, okay, because it all goes in the same direction. But when you're talking about twin forearm block, you want to move forward, no hip twist, move forward, and then twist late, so that the centrifugal force is applied. Master Belson, hello sir, yes, let's have a look. For me, the block works best when I have been knocked to my knees. Yeah, good, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So there's a valid point. Thank you, sir, superb. So the application here, what Master Belson is talking about now is, you know, you may have been taken, you've dropped, you've been taken down, and now all of a sudden you're in a position where you've got to be executing it from a low position. So absolutely great, superb, thank you.